this is my Robux palette. You probably know it from Angela Fair's channel, and she has a different version of this palette. So let me just give you an overall look. This was my birthday present to myself probably 4 years ago, something like that, 5 years ago, when I had a combination of half pans and tube paint. And it did manage to house all of my half pans, but as you can see, it's not very elegant looking, but it worked. So let's talk about this palette. The Robux palettes are made in the US, and they're made from some sort of like industry grade plastic. So it does feel more sturdy than, you know, something like this. Or, well, this one is actually pretty sturdy, but it just looks a bit different. It has more of a matte finish. It's not shiny like this kind of plastic. And the wonderful thing about it, although they have other formats of palettes, like, you know, like something that looks more like this, they have a ton of options, but this is amazing. So it comes, or, you know, you can buy a Lazy Susan. This to me is like if you want to be a one palette painter, then I would consider getting something like this. Now, it comes in different sizes, in different formats, with different well types, and then they also sell these inserts that fit each one. So if you have tube paints and you have a lot of tube paints, it is very easy to customize it and move things around if you buy enough wells. So you could buy like a smaller palette with wells, fill them with your tube paints, and then move around the wells to create different palettes according to, you know, your mood, your style, the season, your subject, whatever. So it is very customizable if you have mostly tube paints. You can see you can stick your half pans here, which is what I did. Like, I had a lot more of them stuck here. It's not very elegant. It's not very pretty. So I would say if you're kind of committed to the idea of half pans, I wouldn't go with this option. But if you have tube paints and if you want like one very fun, I mean, it is fun to use. What I don't like is that you can't see it from here, but you know, when it's standing on your desk, it's raised. So, you know, it's kind of, there's a space here. It's not a big deal, but you know, it's not like super slick, but very, very user-friendly. Now, the reason I stopped using mine is, first of all, it wasn't necessarily super easy to film with it. And I didn't buy, stupidly, you know, sometimes you choose to save money on the stupidest things. So I didn't buy the wells. And that means that, you know, a lot of these are filled with colors that I don't necessarily use. And then I have this insert, which allows for even more colors. Some of the colors here I just depotted from the pan and just stuck them in, like this one. This one used to be in a half pan, and I just took it out and put it here. So, yeah, it takes a lot of space, especially if you take one of the larger palettes, but it can house a lot of paints. I currently don't use mine because it takes too much space. I don't actually have the colors that I use right now in it, and I think that's mainly the reason that I stopped using it, just because it took so much space. But I did use it for a long time, and I used it for like off camera, for, you know, just like studio work, like painting. And there are things I love about it. I love that you can so easily turn your palette. So very, very easy to turn it and kind of get easy access, especially with such a big palette. It's kind of a needed thing. It has different inserts, so you can, you know, for example, you can have an insert like this with like seasonal colors or something, like, you know, have your basic colors on the outside. You can get a smaller palette that doesn't have so many of these. So have kind of your go-to colors on the outside and then have inserts with colors you want to try, or, you know, that fit the season or your subject or whatever. So I'll show you just a few of the options that they offer. And I think they're all nice, but my favorite is this one. So they also have a ceramic insert, which I think really, really kind of takes this palette to the next level. Because if you do really enjoy mixing your colors on a ceramic palette, you have that option also with, wait. You have that option. You have that option. So I need to clean mine up. I don't know how I always find, like, why do I need to always squeeze out more paint? No idea. If I have considered buying, because I have like the inserts that I do enjoy, especially the ceramic one, whoopsie, and I have the Lazy Susan, I have considered changing this one to another one that might work better for me. And the reason I haven't done that is, well, first of all, I have my red palette that works really well for me. But second of all, the shipping charges are really, really high. And I'm in Europe and I would have to pay customs also. So that's another 20% on top of the palette and the shipping. Next time I'm in the US, I might consider picking up a new format, just because I do think it can be a wonderful palette. And the fact that they have these inserts really means that I can very easily change my colors. What Angela Fair does many times, she'll just take out, she has one with larger wells, which is something I would also definitely do. If you paint with a small brush on a small size, but you like having all these colors around, for example, Danielle Donaldson, she's an artist that works on small scale most of the time and uses a lot of different colors. So she has one like this, like I have, completely full of all the Danielle Smith watercolors, and it works really well for her. For me, these wells are too small, so I don't enjoy kind of like digging my brush into them because I work with larger brushes now. So I would change it to a larger well size with less wells, and probably they have one with 19 wells that I would consider. Because it would be smaller. This is too big, even like for me, even though I like all the colors and everything, this is just too big. And I would buy a smaller one, and I would buy enough wells to house most of my tube watercolors. Now in the last years, I mostly buy tube paint, and so having a palette that works for pans is not as critical as it was for me when I got this. So I could see this working for me, and it's just really, really nice to use. So I'm not sure, maybe in the future, but this is definitely like, if you want to commit to one palette, do your research, think about your style, and then you can pick a format that works for you. If you like a limited palette, then I would buy a smaller one with enough wells to house, let's say, most of your watercolors. So then you can just switch them around in a smaller palette. And if you like having a lot of colors on hand, then you can get a bigger palette. Again, I recommend always Now getting the wells, that was my mistake. I should have, I don't think when they started offering this, I don't think that they had these. Probably otherwise I would have bought them, but they didn't have the inserts immediately. So yeah, this is really fun. It looks great. And you know, if you're on Instagram, if you're on YouTube, it's definitely an eye catcher and people like are really drawn to this. So all these things are worth considering. Maybe this is right for you. Definitely if you're in the US, if you're outside of the US, this will cost you a lot. And I would think long and hard if this can be like your go-to palette, because this is to me not a palette that can be like one of the many. And yeah, and since I haven't been really using mine, it's kind of neglected. I have gotten offers of people wanting to buy it. Yeah, I have trouble letting go, especially if something so fabulous. But probably if I buy a new like main insert, I wouldn't need to buy the Lazy Susan again or all of these like inserts. But if I change this part, then probably I would be willing to let go of this one. So to all the people that offered to buy this from me, I'm really sorry. I don't think I'm ready yet. Maybe one day. Is this enamel tray that it's called like a butcher tray, and it comes in different sizes. I think some people would really enjoy this, and whenever I use it, which does happen occasionally, I do enjoy it. The paints that I have here are the Jean Haynes watercolors. And what's nice about this, okay, I'll start with the disadvantage. This size is huge, so if space is an issue, it does take a lot of real estate. You can find smaller ones. Obviously, the benefit of having a large palette is that you just have a lot of space. And if you really enjoy kind of tweaking your washes and mixing colors, it's very easy to use this kind of palette. You know, you go with your wet brush over one of these blobs and the color just releases, and you can very easily bring it into your mix. So this is kind of, if you're into mixing watercolors, maybe try a tray, or you could get the same effect with like a plate, but just like one big surface. I really enjoy it. What I don't like about this one is that mine is kind of, it's not completely flat. So that means if I have very like watery washes, they will just like migrate to certain areas of the palette, like the edges are lower and the top is a bit raised. So I'm not sure if this is just mine or if all of them are, but obviously it's annoying if you have like a puddle of watercolors going into the direction of one of your other watercolors and you kind of get unwanted mixtures. But I do have to say that I really enjoy this palette, and now talking about it, it really makes me want to use it again, because I do love mixing colors and I do enjoy seeing what happens. So I think you can see like this beautiful colors from the Jean Haynes set. Lovely. So last but not least, let's talk about some ceramic palettes. So this was also for a long time my studio palette. This is the 19 Wells palette from Jackson's. I think for what it is, the price is really attractive, and I think it's a beautiful palette. Again, this will work really well for you if you like working with a limited palette, or you kind of squeeze out paint as you work. So you don't need like a reservoir of paint. So you just like put a few dots of paint as you're painting. You'll have a huge surface here for mixing. And if you've tried ceramic palettes, then you probably would agree with me that they are the most beautiful to work on, like to mix colors on. And it's just like so elegant. And yeah, there's like, for me, there's an added level of enjoyment when I use a ceramic palette because it's so lovely to see the color mixes and see the paint on it. So I do love this palette, and I'm hoping to make it work for me, but I need to clean up some of the areas here that I just don't think I'll be using these colors. So this one is indigo. I'll probably clean out that one. This one with earth tones, also not really doing a lot with those. Yeah, so that's my issue with these palettes, that, you know, you stick the paint inside and then you're kind of committed to it and you're stuck with it, and it's not so easy switching colors around. Having said that, I have had these two palettes come into my life, and I do have these in my shop, and these are also ceramic palettes, and I think they are lovely, and I do think that they might work for some people. I use this one to teach a course that you can find the links to that. It's a free course. You can find it below and you can sign up. It'll be in August. It's like a paper craft summit, but my class is about watercolors. We just, you know, obviously paint on paper. And I use this palette, and you can see I just squeezed a little bit of paint in the colors that I needed and that I used. So it will be very easy to clean up if I don't want to use them again. And what I like about this ceramic palette is that obviously it's not like super compact, but it does house a lot of colors. Here you can fit 20, and then here you can fit 24, and this one is just a little bit smaller. And I also like that you have a large mixing areas. A lot of the ceramic palettes have smaller mixing areas, or, you know, they will just have like 6 wells, but this one have a lot of wells and it has a large mixing area. So if you really enjoy working on a ceramic surface like me, and you still want to have a lot of room for many colors like me, and you also like having one large mixing area like me, I think you might really enjoy these. They don't take a lot of space, you know, like the huge studio palette, and, you know, you could probably, I don't know if they stack, I don't think that they stack, but you could have like a couple of these and they won't take up too much of your real estate in your studio, and you'll still have a beautiful ceramic palette. So I was curious about these. I wanted to order them. I don't think, you know, there's one palette that works for everyone, but I think this would work for many people. And these are just beautiful. I really enjoyed using mine when I was teaching the class, and it kind of prompted trying to make a comeback for this palette, because I do think that like porcelain or ceramic plates are just lovely to use with watercolors. Obviously you don't need like anything fancy. You can just buy like sushi plates or a regular white dish, but I wanted to show you. So this concludes this very exhaustive video. I hope it was useful to you. I hope you kind of understand where I'm coming from. If you have any more questions, then please leave them below. And of course, you know, you can share your experiences with the other viewers, because everyone has different needs and different preferences and different conditions, you know, more space, less space. So that affects all the considerations that go into buying a palette. And next, I will be talking about my travel palettes in the next video. For example, these two babies, I have quite a bit to say about these. So I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.